A black Popeyes employee in Louisiana was fired and could face a lawsuit after he farted on raw chicken and served it to customers. The incident started when the employee posted a disturbing video online. In the video, he walked into the restaurant's raw chicken storage area, opened a package of uncooked chicken, sat on it, and farted on the food. After that, he appeared to take the same chicken, cook it in the fryer, and serve it to customers. A few days later, some customers discovered the video online. When they watched it carefully, they realized the employee in the video was the same person who had prepared their meals at the restaurant that day. The customers said they immediately felt disgusted and sick after realizing they might have eaten the chicken shown in the video. They brought the evidence to the restaurant and contacted Popeye's corporate, demanding compensation and an investigation. Popeyes fired the employee and hired lawyers to take legal action against him. After the video went viral, many people said this was exactly why they avoid fast food, because customers never know what happens in the kitchen before their food is served. Others said anyone who intentionally does something like... Bro,
it's hot as I ain't gonna lie. Watch this. Bro, it's hot as...
Oh boy. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all the praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahushai Bahashim, Rachaha Kodash, and double honors to my teachers, the apostles at Great Millstone who rule well, and peace, love, birds, and salutations to all you sincere brothers, and shalom to you few sisters. Salakia, I had to allow that video to play. It was, quite, disturbing. But nevertheless, this really goes to show you, this place is over with, man. Okay. This place is completely through. And these, are as a result of these YNs in which ÄSAU Edom created. All right. These are created after his image. These are the behaviors, all right, of, this current ruler. All right. The scriptures go into that, man. About, let's get it. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10, verse 2. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. At what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. Okay? So, you're seeing, all right, all of these weird behaviors, activities that's going on that is, allowed, or, that, judgment is not brought forth, all right? Ultimately, it's because Satan, all right, is ruling this place, man. Okay, his physical counterpart, the so-called white man. Okay, and there's a lot of messed up stuff that's happening behind closed doors, especially with these, restaurants, all right? That's why I was saying, man, you got to stay away from these fast food joints, man. Okay, these places are, are not what you think they are, man. Okay. A lot of the time, it's just demons jumping on people to go eat there, man. When you really do know that those places are not for your benefit. Okay, even the people that actually own these fast food joints don't eat at their own restaurants, man. Okay, because they know what the hell is in those, chicken, or, you name it. All right, they know what's in there, man, and they avoid it at all costs. All right, but a lot of our people are addicted to that shit, man. Okay, but nevertheless, you come to find out, you see this video, you just had, a Popeye's chicken and shit particles are all over it, man. Okay, from a goddamn YN. Okay, young nigga, is basically what they're called today, man. Okay, and you saw that dude, man. He looked very effeminate. Had a very, feminine spirit on him, man. Okay, but this is exactly, the type of activities that is going on here. Okay, it's just on camera. Imagine what people are being fed, at these, Moabite restaurants, man. And we did a video on that just a couple of days ago, man. To stay away from those fast food joints. Okay, cook your own meal. All right. Go to the grocery store, buy what you need, cook it yourself. You can pick the best of the worst. Okay, everything is, basically shit anyways, but you can still pick the best of the worst, man. Okay, let's get some precepts here again. The book of Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 6, it says, folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place, man. Okay, folly, that's what that's what you just saw in that video. Okay, that was a folly activity, and he posts that, he's laughing, all right, probably shared it with his friends, all right, that's folly. But that is set in great dignity, because a lot of these people, what do they really, what are they after? They're after views, you know, they're after fame, all right? They want to have their, 10-minute or 15-minute of fame, somewhere or somehow, by any means. And they're willing to do whatever, all right, to gain that, man. Okay? But now look at this nigga, bro, about to get locked up and all that stuff, man. In the NLT, it says, when they give you great authority, okay, when they give great authority to foolish people, okay, being in a position of where, you're working, at a restaurant, you're cooking a meal or whatever, all right, people trust that you're gonna, all right, keep the law, all right, when it comes to, the standard, all right, what you're supposed to, what you can and cannot do. But when you really go into what the hell be really going on behind, these restaurants, all right, it's not something, it's not a place where you want to sit and eat, really. Okay, because all is your food was just brought forth, but you have no idea how it was prepared or what happened, all right, in that kitchen, man. There's a Jake that goes around, he does it for comedy's sake, but he goes around to a lot of these different, fast food joints, especially Moab, and the stuff that he finds, all right, in these kitchens, roaches, he finds chicken or whatever, type of meat, under the sink, somewhere where there's mold growing, all right, bathroom all dirty, you know, just, completely upside down, man. Not something that you would expect, okay? But then again, at the front desk, everything may look, they may seem all right, but really it's not, man. Okay, so these people are given what? They're given great authority. But what do they do with it, man? Okay, they show their true horns, really. All right, let's get that actually. Same precept in the same precept in the GNT. All right, the great news or the good news translation. It says Ecclesiastes chapter 10 verse 6. It says stupid people are given position of authority. Okay, so when you put that YN, all right, and what is a YN? What is a YN? A YN, it says in street and social media slang, YN stands for young nigga. Okay, typically used to describe a young black male, often associated with urban or street culture. Depending on the context, it can range from an informal demographic label like a younger guy or mentee to a stereotype associated with reckless and gang activity, man. Okay. You see, however, depending on where you see the acronym online, it can mean completely different things. Okay, but again, these YNs, they were created by ÄSAU, ÄDOM, man. This is the state of mind that this man would rather you be in, all right? As compared to being, out there teaching this word of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai in the streets. A vocab Malone would rather you be like this nigga right here, okay? Okay, than preaching the gospel in the streets, man. All right, because this is not a threat to them. This is exactly, in the book of Lamentation, calling, is this the, I'm a city of beauty, talking shit, okay, about Jake, you see? So again, as I was reading earlier, it says in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 10, Verse 6 in the GNT says, stupid people are given positions of authority while the rich are ignored. Okay, I have seen slaves on horses while noble men go on foot like slaves are, right? But the point is that what, again, folly is set in great dignity, man. Okay, and this is a very, folly, strange, activities that's happening all the time, man. Okay, but anyways, the warning has been already sent out, man. You should stay away from these restaurants. You should stay away, all right, from these restaurants, man. So with that, shalom, Yahaba, Shema, Shai, Barakatah, shalom.